Mike's not a bad guy. He served his country with distinction for a long time. But if he didn't fill out the paperwork properly and he didn't disclose that information and he wasn't honest with the FBI like anybody else, he should be held accountable. But that's where it stops. And there has never been any indication that the President of the United States or anyone else within that circle of the President of the United States has done anything wrong. And so if Mike Flynn did something wrong, he should be held accountable.
Former Trump campaign manager Corey Lewandowski on Fox and Friends this morning, weighing in on the ongoing probe of former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn. This, as new reports claim, his legal team has cut ties with attorneys for President Trump. What does that mean? Let's bring in our legal panel. Wendy Patrick, a veteran prosecutor and a trial attorney. Ashley Merchant is a criminal defense attorney. Good to see you both. Ashley, I want to start with you.
Good to see you.
Obviously, Corey Lewandowski is coming at this from a political standpoint, that this is where it ends. From a legal standpoint, let's stick to the facts. What does this mean when all of a sudden Michael Flynn's attorney says, I don't want to talk to the White House lawyers anymore because there's a potential conflict of interest here?
Right. Well, you know, Flynn's lawyers are not going to do that if it's not in Flynn's best interest. So what this signals to us is the fact that Flynn's lawyers think that there's a potential for a conflict of interest. What could the conflict be? It would be with the Trump administration and Flynn's interests. And what he's got to offer to the government is substantial assistance. He's got to get somebody above him, somebody up the food chain. He's got to be able to provide them in order to get a deal. So if he's looking at criminal prosecution, the best move on their part is for him to offer somebody up who's bigger than him, a bigger fish. And the government is going to tell him and tell his lawyers, tell Flynn and his lawyers, you know what, if you're going to negotiate a deal with us and you're going to work with us, then you've got to stop this information sharing deal that you've got with the Trump administration. You can't keep doing that. You can't play both ends against the middle. And so that's what this signals to me.
So, Wendy, picking up on that very stream there, what does it also tell us, though, about what may happen in the days ahead? Because the New York Times broke this story and acknowledged in that story itself that this happens with prosecutors all the time. And sometimes a person says, I'm going my own way, but then talks break down with the prosecutor, or in this case, the special counsel, because they don't have anything to get a bigger fish with.
Absolutely, Ed. And I got to tell you, it's one of the things that's amazing about this scenario is that there was this cooperation for as long as there was. Oftentimes, you don't have any kind of cooperation between the two camps. And this is not unexpected. That is why this information sharing has been so interesting to follow. This is not a day that anybody expected would not come. In fact, most people say this is something that should have happened a long time ago. Everybody knew that Michael Flynn may have cooperation with the government in his mind. We know that because remember that Monday last month in October, the envelope please moment when we all wondered who it was that was going to be indicted. A lot of people thought it was going to be General Flynn, but it doesn't mean that the government is going to accept his cooperation. I mean, I've been a prosecutor a lot of years. There are lots of times that defense attorneys come forth with offers of information that we're not interested in accepting. So as far as a practical matter, what does it mean? It could mean nothing.
Right. It could mean nothing, actually, because, in fact, in this case, you have someone in General Flynn. It's not just General Flynn in criminal jeopardy. We learn his son could be as well. So it's not really a surprise he wants to say or claim, I have something to give you, because he wants to stay out of jail.
Right. Not surprising at all, especially when you throw his family member into the mix. I think that he's got a great motivation to come up and offer whatever information he has, particularly to protect his son, to make sure that his son doesn't become a target of a criminal investigation. And so I think what this signals is just like Wendy said, they're discussing this. They're weighing their options. And as a criminal defense attorney, if we're caught dead to rights, one of the things that we're going to try to do is offer up some type of information in order to better our client's position. And I think that's what this signals, that the defense is at least exploring that in those conversations, and they don't want to jeopardize that. And so what they're concerned about jeopardizing is, you know, somehow making Mueller mad by sharing information with the Trump administration. And so it's a much safer position for them at this point to say, you know what, let's hold off. We don't want to have any conflicts. We don't want to jeopardize our position.
Let me get Wendy in. On the other hand, in the case of Paul Manafort, we had heard, you know, some of this dates back to 2006, 2005. His attorney says he doesn't have anything on President Trump. In the case of General Flynn, though, we don't know, A, what he does have or not have, and B, you know, he actually worked in the White House. Is that more ominous for this president?
Ed, I'm so glad you brought that up. That is an enormous distinction between the two cases. Now, it is true General Flynn served for a whopping 24 days, but clearly he has a closer tie to the current administration, not just to the campaign. Now, this cooperation prospect, if it ends up panning out, remember, this also could affect things like whether or not he is going to be worthy of a pardon in the president's eyes, whether or not he's going to lead to other people within Mueller's investigation, which, by the way, has been really devoid of the kind of leaks that we've seen in other areas. But I got to tell you, I started out my career doing Ashley's job, and it is true. We are at the point where the bloom is off the rose between these two
Wendy,
camps.
Ashley, there's a lot we still don't know. We appreciate you bringing the facts of what we do know.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.